We've definitely had a bit of a week of it. I did recently mention that due to the drop in temperatures, there was frozen pipes in some vans, and because of that, a few of those vans got flooded. But I am glad to say that a lot of people have been back to the vans and they've started drying them out. So hopefully there's not so much damage. But then something else happened, but this time it happened to us. We're just into December now, so the temperatures, day and night, are starting to drop a little. And there's one thing that you definitely don't want to happen at this time of year, and that's problems with your boiler. Otherwise you're going to have no hot water. We don't rely on a boiler for central heating because we've got gas fires and we've got electric panel heaters, as you'll probably already know. But you don't realise just how much you miss hot water until you can't get any. And that's what happened to us just a couple of days after those floods. The boiler broke. I noticed that when I was turning the water on, it was running cold for quite a while. So I go to the boiler and I check the pilot light, and the pilot light had gone out. So I just relit that pilot light and it was okay. But then a day or so later, exact same situation. We run the tap, the water's cold, the pilot light has gone out again. So I thought maybe this is start of a bigger problem. I was assuming initially, because it was so windy, it was getting blown out. Because when you open the caravan cupboard where the boiler's situated, you can hear the wind blowing. So I assumed that was the culprit. Turns out it wasn't that simple. After a few more days, the same thing kept happening, with one big difference. Every time I relit that pilot light, it wouldn't stay in. As you know from using boilers yourselves, you press it in, you turn it, it clicks, it ignites. You hold it for a few seconds and then you can let it out and then turn it to the temperature that you want. But every time I did that, as soon as I started to release it, that pilot light went back out. And I must have done it 40 times. And I was also holding it in 30 to 40 seconds at a time, thinking maybe it needs to warm up a bit more. And that was the problem. Turns out it wasn't that at all. It was something called the thermocouple. And that's attached to your boiler next to your pilot light. And basically what that does is sense heat. And it sends that signal down a wire to the part where your main burners are located for your boiler. So when it gets to a certain temperature and you release that pilot light, it allows the gas to stay on. So that when you turn it, it ignites all those burners and you get your hot water. But when they go faulty, they then send the wrong signal, as if there's no heat being detected. So as far as that boiler's concerned, there's no pilot light lit. So then it's got a safety cutout, which means it won't allow the gas to come on to ignite your main burners. I did a little bit of research on it and I kind of narrowed it down to that. Obviously, all the time I'm thinking, what if it's the boiler itself? I didn't know how much it would cost to have that thermocouple replaced, but I do know for a fact that if you need a new boiler, you could be looking at somewhere between £800 and £1,200, and we don't want that just before Christmas. But if needs must, then we would have to have paid out. So I went through a little bit of paperwork and I found the safety certificate, the man that comes out and checks the gas to make sure it's all in order. So I gave this guy a ring and he came out 9 o'clock the next morning, which I thought was really good. And after having a look at the boiler, he actually confirmed it was the thermocouple. I'll put a picture of the thermocouple on screen so you can take a look, so you can see what it looks like. So this guy carries all sorts of spares because boiler repairs and other things is his job, and he just says, I'll put you a new one in. And it didn't take him long at all. And the bill for that was £115. I was quite happy to get the water back on and not have to pay for a replacement boiler. Because as you can tell from what I'm wearing now, it is starting to get a little bit colder. So we're running as fires as panel heaters, but we're also layering up at the same time. But just for the sake of one day, it was surprising how annoying it were to not have hot water to wash your pots or to wash yourself. Obviously, because the boiler's not working, you can't use the shower. So everything we had to do just for that one day was in cold water, and that was quite horrible. So I was so pleased that this guy came out and quickly resolved that problem for us. I have looked online at buying a thermocouple yourself, but I didn't want to go down that road with it being a gas boiler, because as far as I'm concerned, it could invalidate caravan insurance if you start trying to repair things like that yourself. But what I didn't know is that you're not actually tampering with the gas mains at all. It's just something that screws in either end to your boiler, but it's not attached to your gas feed. You can get a universal replacement thermocouple for about £10 and fit it yourself if you're comfortable with doing that, or know somebody else that's competent enough to do it. But they also range from that up to around £50. It depends on the model of your boiler. So I could have bought one myself and just fitted it. I didn't know how easy the job would be. But for safety's sake, and also for insurance reasons, I was quite happy to pay £115 for a professional to get that boiler back up and running. So although the option is out there to get any job done cheaper, you could cause yourself an even bigger problem if you go down that road and don't do it correctly. Or if there's some sort of clause on your insurance that doesn't allow you to touch your boiler in any way, shape or form. So I'm bordering on caution this year. As you know, it's his first year in a static caravan. We keep getting asked why we're not going back to the apartment that we managed to rent really cheap. And the reason for that is because we're working on site still every day. So I'm saving myself the trips back and forth. And I did say that I would endure winter to some degree in this caravan. I just want to see how bad it gets, how cold it's going to be, and more importantly, how much it's going to cost to combat those elements. But if things get too bad, I have got the option of retreating. And we've just had a -4, and that was quite cold. That fire had to go up a little bit higher just for us to feel comfortable. But I have noticed on weather that sometimes when it says it's going to be -3 and -4, it doesn't feel that bad. But sometimes it does feel really cold. And I think that's the wind chill on top of everything else. Or the fact that it's that temperature and there's no cloud cover whatsoever seems to make it that little bit colder to me. But I'm going to see how we go. We have got that backup if needs be. And we are going to be going away on a trip somewhere around Christmas time. But then I'll be coming back here, especially if it's really cold, just to see if I can cope. But the main thing is that for £100 or so, we got that boiler fixed. It's a real panic when you get to this time of year and your boiler goes. And it is sod's law that if a boiler's going to break, whether it be in a caravan or an house, it's always going to break during winter. So it's great that that guy could come out as quick as he could and got it all sorted for us. And the other advantage to that is not only that you're covered through insurance purposes, but you've also got a warranty from whoever it is that fits it. So if that problem reoccurs in a couple of weeks' time, you can always ring them back. And I'm quite sure they'd be very happy to pop out and replace it for you. Even though you buy new parts, sometimes you can get faulty ones. But for now, it's up and running, the water's hot, and we're back in business. So we'll see what happens between now and Christmas, see how much colder it gets, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't have any more problems with the static or anything in it that we need to stay comfortable. Anyway, thank you so much for being part of this channel. I really do appreciate it. And we're not finished yet. I'm going to keep updating you between now and the end of the year. We'll take a little break at some point, but then we're going to be in the new year, headed towards spring, and then we'll see exactly what we do on a second year in this static caravan. We'll start off as container garden again, which was really successful for its first season, considering it's just containers outside without the protection of a greenhouse, and considering weather-wise what an horrible year it's been, we got some really good harvests. So I'm thinking we've got plenty to look forward to come new season. If you want to see what we're going to be doing between now and that new season, then please hit that subscribe button, press that notifications bell, and I'll see you next time. Take care and stay warm.